Manipulation does not work on the weak. It works on the decent. That is why it keeps working on you. Read that again, because it explains every time you got played and could not understand how. You assumed the people who get manipulated are gullible, or slow, or desperate. So you looked at yourself, saw a reasonable man who keeps his word, and figured you were safe. You were the easiest target in the room. So here is the question that decides how much of your life gets quietly taken from you. When someone plays dirty on you, do you recognize the move while it is happening, or only weeks later, in the shower, far too late to say anything? Be honest, because most men never see it in real time, and a move you cannot see is a move that works every single time it gets used. Understand why you are the target. Every dirty tactic ever invented is a hijacked virtue. Guilt only works on a man with a conscience. Obligation only works on a man who pays his debts. Consistency only works on a man whose word means something. They are not attacking your weaknesses. They are turning your standards into handles. Today you get 7 counters, 7 dirty tactics, and the exact response that kills each one. And I will warn you now, the 7th is the one almost nobody survives, because it does not feel like manipulation at all. It feels like love. Stay to the end for that. There is also a danger buried in this video, and I want it said early. Learn these 7, and you will start seeing them everywhere, including in your own behavior, including in things you have done to people you care about. That part will not feel good. It is also the most useful thing in here. 500 years ago, Machiavelli wrote something about conspiracies in his discourses. The man who wishes to survive one must understand it better than the men running it. Not to become a conspirator, to become uncatchable. He observed that plots almost always fail against a leader who can recognize the shape early. A scheme depends entirely on the target not knowing what he is looking at. The whole defense is recognition. Name the shape, and the shape loses its power. Before counter 1, drop 4 words in the comments. I name the weapon, type it, because that is the entire defense compressed. Every one of these 7 dies the moment you can say out loud what it is. Before the 7th, understand why you specifically get chosen, because it is not random, and it is not bad luck. In 1984, a psychologist named Robert Cialdini published a book after spending 3 years doing something academics almost never do. He went undercover. He trained as a car salesman, a fundraiser, a telemarketer, learning from the inside how compliance professionals actually get people to say yes. What he found was that persuasion is not magic and not charisma. It runs on a small set of psychological triggers that are built into normal, healthy human beings, and he named 6 of them. Reciprocity, the urge to repay what we are given; commitment and consistency, the urge to act in line with what we have already said; social proof, the urge to follow what others are doing; authority, the urge to defer to expertise; liking, the urge to say yes to people we like; and scarcity, the urge to want what is running out. Here is the part that matters for you, and it is the reason this video exists. Every single one of those 6 is a good thing. Reciprocity is why societies function. Consistency is what makes a man trustworthy. Deferring to real expertise is intelligence, not weakness. These are not flaws. They are the operating system of a decent person. And a manipulator is simply someone who has learned to run commands on that operating system without your permission. He does not break into you. He uses the doors you keep open, because keeping them open is what makes you a good man. That is why the decent get hunted. A cynical man who owes nobody, keeps no promises, and does not care what the group thinks is almost impossible to manipulate, because none of the levers connect to anything inside him. But he also has no friends, no reputation, and no life worth defending. So the answer is not to become that man. The answer is what Machiavelli said about conspiracies. Recognition. You keep every one of your virtues, and you learn to spot the exact moment someone reaches for one of them as a handle. And this is where we pick up from last time. In the last episode of the Power Laws, you got 7 sentences that end a power game. Those work on clean players, men who are pushing hard but pushing honestly. Some people do not play that way. They lie, they guilt, they twist the story, they rewrite what happened last week. Against them, a flat sentence alone is not enough, because they will simply reframe your sentence and keep going. For those men, you need something more specific. You need to be able to name the weapon while it is still in his hand. That is what separates a man of the pack from a man who keeps getting surprised. Here are the 7 dirty tactic. 1. The manufactured debt. The counter. Name the ledger out loud. This is Cialdini's reciprocity. Weaponized. Someone does you a favor you never asked for. They cover something small. They help with a thing you had handled. They insist on paying for dinner while waving off your objection. It feels generous. Weeks later, a request arrives that is 10 times larger than the favor, and it arrives with a quiet reminder attached. After everything I did for you, and now you feel it, that heavy pull in the chest, the sense that saying no would make you a bad person. That feeling is the product. The favor was the invoice, printed in advance. Here is how you tell a gift from an invoice, and it is simple. A gift has no memory. The man who genuinely helped you does not bring it up. He does not keep a running tally. And when you thank him, he waves it off and forgets it happened. The manufactured debt has an excellent memory. It gets mentioned casually, at exactly the moment leverage is needed. If a past favor is being recalled to move you today, it was never a favor. It was a purchase, and you are being asked to deliver the goods. It runs hardest inside families, where the ledger can span decades. A parent who paid for something years ago and has raised it gently at every major decision since. Not as a demand, just a mention, placed carefully. Right before the part where they tell you what they think you should do about your job, your move, your marriage. The debt is never stated as a debt because stating it would break the spell. It only ever appears as a memory, warmly recalled, at the exact moment a decision is on the table. And you comply, and you cannot even explain to yourself why, because on paper nobody asked you for anything. The counter is to name the ledger out loud, calmly, without accusation. It sounds like this: I appreciate what you did then, and I want to be clear that this is a separate decision. Or even simpler, said flat, are you asking me because of that? That single question drags the invoice into the light, and manufactured debts cannot survive light, because the whole tactic depends on the pressure staying unspoken. The moment it is named, the other man has to either admit he is calling in a debt for a gift he pretended was free, which makes him look small, or deny it, which releases you completely. Either way, the handle breaks off in his hand. This week, if you feel that heavy pull, stop and ask one question inside your own head. Am I saying yes because I want to, or because I feel I owe? If the answer is oh, name it out loud before you answer. Dirty tactic 2, the reversal, the counter. Return to the fact and refuse the trip. You raise a legitimate problem. He did something, and you are naming it, calmly, and within 30 seconds you are apologizing. You are not sure how it happened. Somehow the conversation stopped being about what he did and became about your tone, your memory, your history of being difficult, or the terrible way you are making him feel by bringing this up at all. You came in with one clear fact, and you are walking out defending your character. That is the reversal, and it runs on a fixed sequence. Deny the thing. Attack the person raising it, then flip the roles, so the one who caused the harm becomes the one who is hurt, and the one who was harmed becomes the aggressor. It works because a decent man cannot stand to be told he is being cruel. The moment he hears you are attacking me, his conscience turns him around, and puts him on defense, which is exactly where the reversal needed him. Notice the pattern. You raise a fact, and suddenly the topic is you. See it run in a real scene, because you have sat in this one. You tell a colleague, calmly, that he took your work into the client meeting without telling you. Within a minute, he is saying he cannot believe you would accuse him of that, after everything he has done for this team. And honestly, he has been noticing that you have gotten territorial lately, and he is disappointed you would come at him like this. Count what just happened. He denied it, attacked your character, and reassigned the injury to himself, in 3 sentences. And now you are standing there constructing a defense of your own decency, which means the thing he actually did has quietly left the room. He did not beat your argument. He changed the subject to you, and your own conscience carried the bags. The counter is to be immovable about the topic, while staying completely calm about the tone. You do not defend yourself, because defending is the trip you are being invited on. You simply return once to the specific fact in the same flat voice. We can talk about my tone after. Right now, I am asking about the thing that happened on Tuesday. Say it again if needed, unchanged, unhurried. What kills the reversal is repetition without escalation. He needs you to either get emotional, which proves his story, or drop the subject, which ends the problem for him. Give him neither. Return to the fact, calmly, as many times as it takes. A man who will not be moved off the topic cannot be reversed, and after 2 or 3 attempts, the tactic simply runs out of road. Quick question, and this one splits the comments every time. When someone manipulates you, is it better to call it out directly, or to quietly stop trusting them and adjust without a word? Half of you believe confrontation is strength, that a man says what he sees. The other half believe the quiet exit is stronger, that explaining your read only teaches them to hide it better next time. There is a real argument on both sides, and where you land says a lot about how you handle power. Drop your take below, call it out, or quietly adjust. And here is the audit, the harder one. Think of the last time someone pulled one of these on you. Did you see it in the moment, or did you only understand it days later? Be honest. That gap is exactly what we are closing today. Dirty Tactic 3, the moving finish line. The counter, write the line down first, out loud, in front of them. This one steals years. You are told what is required. Hit this number, finish this project, prove yourself on this account, and then the promotion, the raise, the change happens. So you do it, you hit the number, and when you come to collect, the line has moved. Now there is 1 more quarter to get through. Now the situation has changed. Now they need to see consistency, and consistency requires more time. Always an amount of time that is never specified. Nothing you did was wrong. The goal simply relocated while you were sprinting toward where it used to be. This runs on Cialdini's consistency lever, turned against you. Once you have publicly committed to a path, you feel enormous internal pressure to keep going, because stopping would mean admitting the previous effort was wasted. So each new goalpost feels survivable, and each one costs you another year, and the man moving it knows exactly how much your own consistency will make you tolerate. He is not paying you in outcomes. He is paying you in the hope of outcomes, which costs him nothing to print. The counter is to fix the finish line in words, at the beginning, in a way that can be recalled later. Not aggressively, just clearly. So if I deliver this by March, that means the promotion goes through in April. Is that right? Then let him say yes out loud. That is the whole counter. You have converted a vague implication into a specific commitment with a date attached, spoken by him, and a specific commitment is much harder to quietly relocate than a hazy someday. And watch his reaction closely, because it is diagnostic. A man who intends to deliver will simply confirm it. A man who was planning to move the line will get uncomfortable, start hedging, introduce conditions. That discomfort is your answer, and it arrives before you have burned a single year. This week, on the one thing you are working toward, get the finish line said out loud by the person who controls it. Dirty Tactic 4, Manufactured Urgency. The counter, delay on principle, not on merit. Cialdini's scarcity lever is the most commercially used weapon on this list. You have been hit by it 100 times this year alone. This offer ends tonight, only 2 left. I need an answer by end of day. I have another buyer coming at 5. Urgency is manufactured for exactly one reason. Pressure prevents examination. An offer that looks good in a rushed moment often looks obviously bad after a night of sleep. The man creating the deadline knows precisely which of those 2 lights he wants you standing in. Here is the rule that will save you more money than any other line in this video. The quality of a deal is never damaged by 24 hours. If something is genuinely good, it survives a day of thought. If it evaporates the moment you slow down, then it was never an opportunity. It was a trap with a timer on it. Real scarcity exists. Sometimes there really is 1 house and 2 buyers. But real scarcity does not need to be announced repeatedly with rising intensity by a man who profits from your speed. The counter is to make delay automatic rather than situational, because if you decide case by case, the pressure will win in the cases that matter most. So you adopt a standing rule. I do not make decisions of this size the same day. Say it pleasantly. It is not a negotiation position, it is a policy. And policies are much harder to argue with than preferences. And once again, the reaction tells you everything. The honest party says, of course. Take your time. The manipulator escalates because his entire structure depends on you not thinking, and every hour you take is an hour his angle deteriorates. Watch what a request for 1 day does to the room. It is the cheapest test you will ever run. Dirty Tactic 5. The invisible crowd, the counter, demand the name. It sounds like this. Everyone has noticed you have been off lately. People are talking. A lot of us feel this way. Nobody wants to say it. And instantly you are not facing one person with one opinion. You are facing a mob, an anonymous consensus, and it feels impossible to argue with, because you cannot cross-examine a crowd that has no faces. Start scanning the office wondering who, changing your behavior to satisfy a jury you have never met. This is Cialdini's social proof, weaponized. Human beings are wired to follow the group, and for good reason, because the group is often right about things we cannot verify alone. A manipulator borrows that wiring by inventing a group. Almost always, the invisible crowd is one person, and that person is standing in front of you, using the word everyone, because his own opinion was not heavy enough to move you. The counter is one calm question, and it works nearly every time. Who specifically? Said without heat, genuinely, as though you are simply gathering information. Because the invisible crowd cannot survive a request for names. He either names someone, which converts a faceless mob back into one accountable human being you can actually address, or he cannot, which reveals in front of both of you that the crowd was always just him. Do not argue with the crowd. Do not defend yourself to the crowd. Simply ask who, and then be quiet and wait, exactly like you learned last episode. The silence after who specifically does more work than any defense you could mount. Dirty Tactic 6, hot and cold. The counter, respond to the pattern, never to the moment. This is the one that keeps men trapped for years. In jobs and relationships they cannot explain staying in. The tactic is simple. Warmth and coldness, alternating unpredictably. 1 week you are the favorite, praised, included, treated like family. Then the temperature drops for no reason you can identify, and the warmth is withdrawn, and you find yourself doing extra work, being extra agreeable, quietly auditioning to get it back. Then it returns, and the relief is enormous, and the cycle starts again. The mechanism is the oldest one in behavioral psychology, and it has been documented for decades. Intermittent reward creates far stronger attachment than consistent reward. A machine that pays out every time gets boring. A machine that pays out unpredictably is the one people cannot walk away from. When affection or approval arrives on an unpredictable schedule, the mind fixates on earning the next payout, and the pursuit itself becomes the trap. The cruelty is that the cold periods are not the problem. The warm ones are, because they are what keep you at the machine. Watch how it looks from inside a job. For 6 weeks you are in the inner circle. The boss pulls you into the important calls, mentions your name upward, jokes with you in the hallway. Then, with no incident you can point to, it stops. You are not invited to the call, the replies get short, nothing is said, and that is the whole point, because if nothing was said, then there is nothing you can address. So you start working weekends. You were not asked to work, being agreeable, in meetings where you would normally push back, quietly auditioning to get the temperature back. And when it returns, and it always returns right before you would have given up, the relief feels so good that you forget you just paid for it in 6 weeks of unpaid labor and self-erasure. The counter is to stop evaluating the relationship by its best moments and start evaluating it by its average. Write down what actually happened over the last 3 months, not how it felt during the good week. Was the pattern stable, or was it a cycle? Because the manipulator's entire defense is the warm period. See, this is how it really is. That other stuff was just stress. No, the pattern is how it really is, and the pattern includes both. Respond to the average, not to the peak, and when the warmth arrives after a cold spell, receive it politely and do not pay for it. The moment you stop overcorrecting during the cold and stop over-rewarding during the warm, the machine stops working, because your reactions were the fuel it ran on. Dirty Tactic 7, and here is the one I warned you about. Weaponized care, the counter, separate the concern from the instruction. This is the hardest to see, because it does not look like an attack. It looks like love. I am only saying this because I care about you. I am worried about you. Someone who did not love you would not tell you this. And what follows is always the same shape, a restriction, a doubt planted about your judgment, a reason to be smaller, to not take the risk, to stay where you are. The people running this are often not villains at all. Many of them genuinely believe every word. That is exactly what makes it the most effective tactic on this list. Here is the mechanism. Real care and control feel identical from the inside to both parties, because they use the same vocabulary. And because the concern is sincere, you cannot dismiss it. And because it comes from someone who loves you, you cannot fight it. And because fighting it would make you ungrateful, you comply. Over years, a man can be talked out of every ambition he ever had by people who never once wished him harm. That is not a dramatic villain. That is a Tuesday in 1,000 ordinary families. The counter is not to reject the care. It is to separate the two things that arrive glued together. The emotion is theirs and it is real, and you should honor it. The instruction is a claim about the world, and it must stand on its own evidence. So you split them out loud. I know you are worried, and I take that seriously. Now let us look at whether the risk is actually as big as it feels. You accept the concern completely, and you make the advice defend itself with facts. If it is good advice, it survives the examination, and you have just gotten wiser. If it does not survive, then what arrived was fear wearing the clothes of guidance, and fear should not be allowed to make decisions for your life, just because it loves you. Most men never learn to run this separation, and they spend their whole lives obeying the anxieties of people who meant well. Now the turn, and this is the part I promised would not feel good. You have spent 20 minutes learning to spot 7 weapons pointed at you. Go back through them, slowly, and this time look for your own fingerprints. The favor you did for someone, then mentioned later, at exactly the moment you needed something. The argument you won by making it about their tone instead of the thing you did. The deadline you invented because you did not want the other person thinking too long. The everyone thinks, you were the only one thinking. The warmth you withdrew from someone, not as a decision, but because you knew, somewhere below language, that they would work harder to get it back. The advice you gave, wrapped in genuine love that was actually about your own fear. Almost every man has run at least 3 of these 7 on someone who trusted him. Most of the time without a plan, without malice, without even noticing, because these tactics are not secret arts. They are the ordinary reflexes of a person who wants something and is not being direct about wanting it. That is the uncomfortable truth of this video. The manipulator is not always some cold operator across the table. Sometimes he is you, on a bad week, tired, wanting something you did not have the courage to ask for straight. And that is exactly why the counters work. Every single one of the 7 dies in the same way, by being named. Which means the same tool that defends you also cleans up your own behavior, if you are willing to point it inward. And notice what every one of those 7 has in common when you are the one running it. Each is a substitute for a direct request you were afraid to make. The manufactured debt is a man who could not say I need help and would like you to owe me. The invented deadline is a man who could not say, I am afraid you will say no if you think about it. The withdrawn warmth is a man who could not say you hurt me and I want you to notice. Underneath every dirty tactic on both sides of the table is a request that never got said out loud. Which means the cure for running them is not discipline. It is courage. The man who can simply ask for what he wants, plainly, and survive being told no, has no use for any of these 7, because he has the one thing they were all substituting for. So point it inward once. Pick the one you recognized, the one that made you flinch a little while I was describing it. That flinch was recognition, and recognition is the whole defense. A man who can see the shape of a plot cannot be caught by one, and a man who can see it in his own hand does not need to run it anymore, because he has stopped being afraid to just ask for what he wants. So there they are, 7 dirty tactics and the counter to each. The manufactured debt, killed by naming the ledger. The reversal, killed by returning to the fact without heat. The moving finish line, killed by fixing the line out loud before you run. Manufactured urgency, killed by a standing policy of delay. The invisible crowd, killed by asking who specifically. Hot and cold, killed by responding to the pattern instead of the moment. And weaponized care, killed by separating the concern from the instruction. 7 weapons, 7 names, that is the armory, and the debate from the middle, call it out or quietly adjust. Here is my answer, and it is not the popular one. It depends entirely on whether you need the relationship with someone you will keep in your life. Name it, calmly, once. Because a named tactic between 2 people who matter to each other usually stops, and sometimes the other person genuinely did not know they were doing it. With someone you do not need, do not explain your read at all. Just adjust, quietly, and let them keep believing it worked. Because a manipulator who knows he has been detected does not become honest. He becomes subtler. Explain yourself to the people you are keeping. Simply become unavailable to the rest. Here is what changes once these 7 live in you. The heavy pull in the chest stops running your decisions, because you can name it now. Conversations that used to leave you confused, apologizing for things you did not do, start ending clean. And slowly you become the man Machiavelli described, the one plots fail against, not because he is ruthless, but because he can see the shape of a thing while it is still forming. You will not become cynical, that is the fear, and it is the wrong one. You will become clear, and clear men keep their kindness, because they finally have a way to protect it. And here is the quiet reward nobody warns you about. Once you can name all 7, people stop running them on you, and they usually stop without a single confrontation ever happening. Manipulators are efficient. They do not persist against a target who sees the move, because seeing it makes it expensive, and there is always an easier person down the hall. So you will not have to fight these battles for the rest of your life. You will fight a handful of them, badly at first, and then the games will simply stop arriving at your door, and you will not even be certain when it happened. Say it one more time, and mean it now. I name the weapon. 7 tactics, 7 names, and the discipline to say the name out loud while it is still in his hand. If this armed you, you are one of the pack. Subscribe and stay close, because this is one law in a series on how power actually moves. You can now counter what people do to you. But there is a harder skill, and it comes before all of this, which is knowing who to let close in the first place. There are 5 things a man does that tell you, early, that he will eventually cost you everything, and they show up long before the damage does. That is the last law in this series, and it is the one that ties all 4 together. New episode Thursday, do not miss it. Name the ledger, return to the fact, fix the line, take the day, ask who, read the pattern, and when concern arrives with an instruction attached, thank the person, then make the instruction prove itself. Because you were never too gullible, you were just too decent to see the handle. Now you can.